And welcome in, everybody, to SEC Football and Beyond. I am Chris Landry. Got my partner in crime back, Neil McCready. We are just chock full of stuff to talk about today. We're going to go in a number of different directions. We want your involvement, as we always do. So join us in the chat room over at, you can do it Facebook, YouTube, Twitch TV, twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football. NCAA, I guess they call it the play-ins, the first round. I'm trying to get adjusted to the fact that we're Friday and we're going to get the first round games, and we're not on a Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday matchup. We've got that. I want to talk to Neil about the Indiana basketball job. We talked Tuesday a ton of NFL free agency. We can go in that direction as well. Pro days are going on in around the country, and we've had a few of them. Georgia's pro day. Any reaction? I can get any reaction to that. Spring practice. A lot of stuff going on. Neil McCready's Chicago Bears have a new quarterback since the last time we spoke to him. So with that, I welcome in good buddy Neil McCready. How are you, my friend?
I was doing fine until you brought up the quarterback thing, and
I like to rile you up. So
felt like a low blow at 9:01 in the morning.
I'm here for.
All right, well, can we start there? Because I probably
start anywhere you want, my friend. Anywhere you want.
I understand that you can't make a team trade a player. I get it, but if you're the Bears, okay, let's see, I'm a multi-sport fan. I have teams in different sports, and I live with a 14-year-old boy who's pretty committed to a couple of different teams. And so
by the way, who are they? I don't want to break your train of thought. Who are they? I'm curious because I never talked about your son's favorite teams.
I'm about to go there. So
okay,
my son's a big Chicago Cubs fan, like his dad, and we watched the Cubs back in, I don't know, before he was old enough to really understand what was going on. I watched the Cubs in about 2012 say, you know what we're doing isn't working. We're going to tear it down and we're going to rebuild it. And they went out and they got Theo Epstein and they tore it down. And Theo Epstein's first press conference was, hey, this is going to hurt at first. We're not going to be good for a little while. Hang tight. We have a plan. And I realize baseball is different than football. We'll get to that in a minute. But they did. They tore it down, and they started to rebuild with this young core of players. They traded for a young Anthony Rizzo. They drafted Chris Bryant. They waited till they were good enough to start making a move, and then they went out and they got John Lester in free agency, and they made a great trade with Baltimore that resulted in Jake Arrieta and Pedro Strop, and the rest is history. They had a very successful run that included a World Series title. We're right now watching the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is his NBA team, do the start of a similar thing where, at the end of they had an era with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and then they had an era with Russell Westbrook and Paul George. And then when Paul George asked for a trade and it became obvious that this wasn't going to work, they started the process of tearing it down. And the Thunder have, I think it's 17 first-round picks over the next 7 years or something like that. I mean, it's an incredible number. All sorts of assets in the NBA, which is assets in the NBA or draft assets in the NBA are absolute gold. So I'm watching that, and then I watch the Bears, where when you realize you made a mistake with Mitch Trubisky, you realize that your team's not going to win the NFC North, that you realize your team is going to be at best mediocre. And you decide, hey, okay, well, we're going to see if we can make one big ditch effort at a big-time quarterback. And you go after, in this case, Russell Wilson, Seattle. And you make a massive offer. Saw where David Kaplan in Chicago reported that it was 3 first and I think 3 starters. I don't know. You might know more specifics than I do, but it was a massive offer. And then that offer gets turned down. To me at that point, and I know it's hard to do this, but at that point, as an organization, at the very top, someone has to say, you know what? Sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. Maybe it's time to take a step back. Instead, they commit money to another mediocre quarterback who's going to be bad enough to keep them probably out of the playoffs, but good enough to keep them out of the top of the draft, which is no man's land. I don't know how you volunteer, Chris, for no man's land. I know that somebody gets there no matter what, but why do you pursue that actively is what is beyond my comprehension.
Well, I think that a lot to uncover there. Yeah. I do think obviously the organization at the top, from upper management, what I call upper management, ownership, in this case, ownership family. Yeah, they've got to take a hard look at things, but they have committed this offseason to stay with the current head coach and general manager, Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy. Mm-hmm. And I have said it. I don't know. I mean, there are going to be a couple of others that join them, but I don't know that anybody is under as much pressure to figure something out that just rattle the cages, just gets things done to where you're showing that, hey, we got signs of the future. If not, I mean, these guys are gone. In fact, there was a lot of talk about them, and I think just patience or maybe apathy, maybe a little bit of lack of energy from the top. It is allowed these guys to even have their job that they are. Look, they missed on Mitch Trubisky, and we talk about this all the time. If you don't take a quarterback, you're going to be, and you need a quarterback, you're going to be compelled to find one. If you take one and miss one like they did with Mitch Trubisky, who is now going to be back up in Buffalo, and it sets you back. So it's darned if you do, darned if you don't, but you get paid in this league to make good decisions. And look, they drafted a guy that they thought that they could develop. Mitchell is one of the risks I always say is when you're taking a guy who's got athletic ability, and he is not, in my mind, completely someone that can't be rehabilitated in time. He just was overdrafted relative to his position, and there's immediate expectation, which no one understands, no one cares in today's environment, and you just can't, you have to be really careful. So they've missed, and they are desperate. They are desperate to try to find a quarterback. And, you know, it's to say, well, they don't have a plan. The plan is now they put money into Andy Dalton. They supposedly told him he's a starter. Well, why not? There is nobody there. I don't know who they're going to get at 20. I don't know if there'll be a quarterback that they like. I don't know if they'll be able to move up to get their quarterback of the future. And I think that's what they would like to do, at least to sell. Hey, look, we got it coming. You know, hey, we drafted. I do think this is a team that's kind of in no man's land. I think it's an okay team. Now, you know, the other news that for folks who are not aware of, they had to release Kyle Fuller. So they got cap issues. They even got issues now with getting, you know, Andy Dalton's deal in with the cap. So they're not in great cap shape, and a lot of teams are not right now this year. It is a mess. I mean, I said the other day, on the show that, you know, if I'm looking at it, and it's just ridiculously early, but I feel very comfortable in saying that the Bucs are the clear favorite in the South of the NFC, that the Chiefs are the clear favorite in the AFC West. I mean, and we got a lot of ways to go in the offseason, but I can't see this changing. And I'll say this, I think the Packers are clearly the favorite in the North, and I don't know that the Bears are even, you know, someone that I feel comfortable saying that they can play well enough around Andy Dalton to be a wild card team. So that kind of puts them in a bad situation.
That's my point. You can see that, and you obviously know football really well. I can see that. I don't know football nearly as well as you know football, but I can see it. If you can see it, and I can see it, and other people can see it, and if some of the people on that roster can see it, it blows my mind that the people at the top of the building there in Hallis Hall can't see it.
Well, I think though, okay, so I'll make the case for them. They're in a position in upper management. They're trying to go for the home run. That they will not be given the opportunity to tear it down and rebuild it. So the theory of, you know, what you're talking about, that can't be done with the guys in charge, because they're not going to be given that time. That's for the guys that are going to replace them if they don't throw a Hail Mary and get it done. So that's upper management problem that they didn't address.
To me, though, what you just said is exactly you got to it in a way that I didn't get to it. I go above pace here. It's not going to get done. You're not going to stay with those people. I don't understand kicking the can down the road a year so that Andy Dalton can take them to what, Chris, 7-9, 6-10. They're not going to. Dalton's not awful, right? You're better off going with another year of Trubisky being awful. Go 3-13, 2-14, pick at the top of the draft and fire everybody. Do what Jacksonville did here most recently. Whether it works or not, who knows? But that's a better plan of operations, at least in my opinion. Feel free to tell me that I'm an idiot. Than doing what I think the Bears are going to do, which is bring in a mediocre veteran quarterback who's good enough probably to win 5 or 6 games. Maybe stumble into 7. So you're 7-9. Let's call it 7-9 for fun. 7-9, and you're picking 17th in the draft. Well, that doesn't get you anywhere, and you're still firing Pace and all those guys at the end of the year. That's my thing. If it's kind of like a marriage. If you know the marriage is dead, it's dead. You go into the counseling and everybody's done. There's no point staying in it for another year just to be miserable for another year. You only fix it if you think it can be fixed. If you think it can be fixed, well, you fix it. But if it can't be fixed, you move on. And is it the McCaskies? If I'm looking at this and I look at the whole deal and I'm sitting there going, this can't be fixed. This deal with Pace and Nagy, we had our moment in the sun. But it's over, and it's over, and you got to move on, because to me, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong, and we got some other questions here about the Giants, about the 49ers. I do want to ask you about Deshaun Watson, because some of the allegations out there.
Rich Coach asked about that yesterday, and I didn't have any real comments. I'll further the comments because the news is, I don't have any information, but the news is concerning. But go ahead, we'll get to that in a second.
So I'll finish my question on the Bears, then I'll shut up.
Here's what I think they're going to do. Go ahead.
They're going to take quarterback.
They're going to take somebody at 20, Mac Jones, and they're going to sell it with the 7-9. Look, we got a guy of the future. That's what the guys in charge are going to try to do. Well, and I mean, the people, that I'm telling you what they're going to do. Now, I don't like it. I don't think it's going to work.
That's my point.
And I'm with you, and I feel your pain as a Bears fan. And I'm going to tell you something. They are pissed the people I get online and ask me about the Bears, they're apoplectic. And I mean, it is like they're wanting to jump into Lake Michigan right now and with an anchor. I mean, or at least they want to send Nagy. And I mean, because for them, You didn't get well. I can't believe, and we know they went all out. They're going all out because they're desperate.
Sure.
So now, and again, they can't. I always say you can't bring a gun to the negotiation because if you could, I might have tried. But you can't do it. Yet, it's this. They've made their bed. Look, they're big boys. They're going to try to fix it the best way they know how. Blowing it up is not an option for the people in charge because they will not be allowed to blow it up. And again, I think this is where upper management's the issue. And it's going to probably set them back. But I think the whole key is, can they find their quarterback? Now, with that said, let's say they hit on the guy at 20. Let's say they move up, find their guy. They can easily get out from Andy Dalton in future years. And if they have their guy. So, I mean, there's a plan. I just don't know if the plan's going to work. In fact, I would say, kind of a tough to pull that plan off type of view.
All right. Greg Jones wants to know, Chris, do you think the Giants closed the deal on Golladay today? And he wants your thoughts on what the Giants have done in free agency so far.
Listen, by the way, speaking of the Bears, Golladay was brought in Chicago. In fact, Allen Robinson, it kind of made overtures that he wasn't going to sign his franchise tender, and they brought in Golladay. He signed it yesterday. It's always good to do that because for people who don't know, when you got the franchise tender offer, you don't get that money until you sign it. But you also, there are obligations to show up. If you don't sign it, you're not obligated. You're not subject to fines and all that. But he figured that out. Listen, here's the thing on Golladay. You know, people have listened. I like Golladay a lot, but there's some injury issues. And because he's the best receiver left on the market now, by the way, Will Fuller signed with the Dolphins yesterday, if folks didn't hear it. It doesn't mean he's an elite receiver. And I think the Bengals offered him a one-year deal. Golladay is still out there because his price tag relative to what I think people want to pay coming off the injury. So the Giants are interested. There are a number of teams that are interested, but he hasn't signed because his asking price probably needs to come down. So I thought there might be, it's a possibility to answer your question, but I don't know. It may take a little bit longer for that to get done. We got a question about, I want to address it real quick. And your thoughts on this, because you're a professional media person. I'm not a reporter. So I got asked yesterday, Rich Coach asked yesterday about Deshaun Watson, of the off the field situations that have come up about supposed some sexual assault issues. And I honestly, I know nothing about it other than what's been reported, what I've read. I don't know. And I'm very uncomfortable talking about something I don't know anything about. I don't know what happened, if anything happened. And I'm more inclined to, when something happens, all right, let's just wait and see. Now, let me just report what's come out more. There's as many as 9 accusations of 9 different women.
I think that's correct.
Is that true? I mean, is it? So I can't answer anything, but I will say, based upon what I said, I'll say yesterday and Tuesday when it came up, whenever it came up, I think it might have been on yesterday's show that I did. Is concerning. Which, by the way, I always say, you don't know what's going on in your neighbor's house. You think you do, you don't. This is just does not fit what I know about Deshaun Watson character-wise. But does that mean that there's not something there? I mean, there's something there that has to be addressed. The league is looking into it. And I'm going to tell you, Philip said, did the 49ers have a real shot again? No, they do not. The team that is putting an all-out press to get him is the Carolina Panthers. David Tepper, the owner there, is. But I'm wondering if this is going to put a halt to it because the league has investigated. Is there anything to it? I mean, you're going to give up 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and maybe a player or 2 for now. This has come up. I mean, what does this do for him? What does this do for his leverage? Does it calm things down? And are you, if you're Deshaun Watson, do you not show up and be contentious with ownership in Houston when you got this stuff in the news? I mean, is this being put up? I mean, there are all sorts of conspiracy theories on this. I don't know where to go with this, folks. I don't know if any of this is true. I wouldn't even say it if it wouldn't have been reported, and now everybody's going to be talking about it and asking about it. I don't know whether he was involved in doing anything with these women or not, but I'm worried, Neil, that 9 have come out. That's worrisome.
Well, I'm reading here from NFL.com. There was a Houston Chronicle story that I was trying to get to just then as you were talking, but I don't have access to it. I'm not a subscriber to the Houston Chronicle. And I have no problem with people putting things behind a paywall. I just couldn't get to it. Anyway, it's there's 3 lawsuits now. The most recent one was filed yesterday in Harris County, Texas, where he's accused of sexual assault. This follows 2 separate lawsuits filed earlier this week accusing him of indecent contact stemming from encounters with 2 different masseuses last year. The third alleged that he coerced a licensed massage therapist to perform a sexual act during an appointment in this past December 2020. It's very, you can read it yourself. It's at NFL.com. It's very specific as to what he is accused of doing. The NFL, as you mentioned, Chris, has informed the Texans that they will be conducting an investigation. into the allegations. They'll stay in close contact with the Texans and the league over the course of the investigation. The Texans have issued one of those blanket statements, and then Watson issued a statement on social media where he says, as a result of a social media post by a publicity-seeking plaintiff's lawyer, I recently became aware of a lawsuit that has apparently been filed against me. I have not seen the complaint, but I know this: I have never treated any woman with anything other than the utmost respect. The plaintiff's lawyer claims that this isn't about money, but before filing suit, he made a baseless 6-figure settlement demand, which I quickly rejected. Unlike him, this isn't about money for me. It's about clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that. Watson has not publicly commented on either of the 2 other lawsuits as of this NFL.com writing, and to my knowledge, that's still the same. You're asking for a journalism opinion here. I'll be honest, Chris. I don't know these things. It's a funny, not funny. It's the wrong word. It's a difficult place to be, because I'm not one that is going to dismiss an allegation just outright at all.
Sure.
It takes courage to come forward. At the same time, I do believe in innocence until proven guilty. If I'm the Texans, and I don't want to be one of these people. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, for example. But that there are people that are out there going, it's convenient this comes out now. Watson wants out, and the Texans. It makes no sense for the Texans to want to keep Deshaun Watson and then undermine his value with their franchise. And if they're thinking about trading him, it makes absolutely no sense for them to undermine his value before a trade. So when people say things like that, I'm like, you've lost your mind. So I don't know what this is. I mean, we're seeing this with Andrew Cuomo in New York. When one person comes forward, it makes it easier for other people to come forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cuomo's up to 9 now.
I've lost track.
Yeah, 9 accusers. And when that starts to happen, frankly, there's strength in numbers. And from a did he or did he not standpoint, you begin to look at it and go, yeah, probably did. Are they all telling the truth? Maybe not. Are they all lying? Probably not. And so I'll be curious to see, does this result in a 4th suit, a 5th suit, a 6th suit? And at some point, obviously, the league has to take some sort of action, and they are, in the form of an investigation. If I'm the Panthers, if I'm the 49ers, if I'm any team that has been talking to the Texans or trying to talk to the Texans about Deshaun Watson, I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm having to hit
you got to wait. You got to wait till the league investigation's done.
Yeah, agreed. You have to hit the pause button.
You can't go down that path. Look, I don't know what happened or didn't happen. When my initial thing is, when I hear stuff, okay, I mean, you don't dismiss it. I don't jump to conclusions. But when I start to hear a 3rd, 4th, and I hear a 9th, then that kind of makes me swallow hard and say, well, yeah, some may say, well, all right, there's everybody jumps. Well, but it does make it easier for the others. So you got to find out quickly, is there anything to this or not? And it may take a while. So I look, a lot of talk about something I don't know, but it kind of hit me, and I don't have the answer. But if I was involved in this decision in Carolina, anywhere, Chicago, anybody, I mean, Chicago doesn't have the ammunition to do it, but anybody that's looking to make that trade, you've got to swallow hard on that, because you don't know what you're dealing with there. So
we'll jump to a college topic here for a minute.
Yep.
Joel Cunningham wants to know what's your evaluation of LSU's quarterback room. I was reading a story this morning about Miles Brennan and his kind of recovery from a weird injury that it took him a long time to sort of figure out what exactly that it was. And he's trying to win back the job that he had before he got hurt, I guess, against Missouri last season. So I know that Johnson kind of finished the season well, played really well against Ole Miss in that final game. What's your take on the LSU quarterback room as they get ready for the spring?
I think I think it's pretty good. I think Max Johnson it's his job to lose. I mean, I think he's the guy he played well last year in pivotal moments. He's got the more physical ability, but can he grasp things quick enough, well enough, and become consistent protecting the football. All things that he did in short stints last year. Miles can do that. Miles can run the offense. So, I mean, I would handicap it. I know you say how good is the – I mean, evaluate the room. I think the room's good specifically. I would say that if Max is not able to run everything that Miles may start, but I think at some point and maybe as soon as early, like in the season, that Max Johnson will get that job. But in essence, if he doesn't, it's going to be because he's – doesn't have the total grasp and Miles does. I don't think they're going to say, well, this whole thing about, well, Miles was the starter and he didn't do anything to lose the job and he was injured. And it's all that's somehow somebody used to say that. And I learned that from Parcells. It's like, yeah, this whole can't lose the job to being injured. Like, hell, you can't, you play the best guy. And if you have a situation, Drew Bledsoe goes down, Tom Brady comes in. That's it, man. I mean, it's an opportunity. Wally Pipp. If you don't have the answer, then that guy that's come that that performed well prior to the injury, you bring him back into the mix. But I think it's a good room, and I think it's probably going to come down to to Johnson and Brennan, and I think they got to get them both ready to go because, as we found out last year, you're one play away from. I don't think Brennan is brittle, but I think you worry a little bit about the injury factor with him a little bit more.
How important is spring football to?
Oh man, I think it's so important. But here's the thing about spring ball: don't pay attention to the stats in the scrimmage, the spring game results, and boy, they look. It is so important from teaching because you're not preparing for an opponent. You are installing and you're learning about what you can or can't do. And you're identifying certain holes that, all right, we're going to have to be more of this, less of that. Let's take a look at Neal on this side of the ball. Let's create opportunities to where we may fill in gaps on our roster. The teaching of the fundamentals, the teaching of the installs. This tells you it's the basic. Here's the way I would describe it. If you think of the football scheme on your team in all three phases like a tree, it's the trunk is what you teach in your basic foundation of what you do. And that is the spring in the off-season program. And during the season, it's all about the branches and where you can go out and go in different directions. So think about a squirrel climbing up and then jumping on different branches. You can go in a number of different directions in the fall based upon how well you do things in the spring. But don't think, well, I heard this guy is having a great spring, and that means he's going to be the Heisman Trophy favorite in the fall. It doesn't correlate there. And a lot of what you do that you don't look good at, it's okay because now you learn about that and you do things and alter things so that it does look better. That's why they say, well, I don't think spring's important because you know what? We couldn't throw it, at all in the spring, and now we got a great passing game or vice versa. Well, that's because what you take and learn from practices, it has a great deal to do. So I just, from a teaching and a fundamental standpoint, it's the best time to coach football and teach football from a fundamental standpoint. That's what I think spring football is all about and why it's so important.
Speaking of LSU, we don't need to stay here long unless you want to. We can, whatever. How can the national media continue to ignore LSU is the unrivaled question. Kansas and Oregon State, and you and I talked about this, Chris, before we got started, have fired people.
Unrivaled must have had he must have been listening to us and we didn't know it. He's got a pipeline.
Kansas and Oregon State have fired people from their time at LSU on top of so many other things. It is a fair question. It appears that Oregon State is going to fire their president, F. King Alexander, who was at LSU at the time. Les Miles obviously out at Kansas. Yet everyone at LSU just kind of rocking along. Though I will say this, I get this question a lot from frustrated people. Why hasn't the NCAA done anything? And my response to that is I understand your frustration. B, it takes the NCAA forever to do anything. They operate very slowly. And the NCAA, to this point, to my knowledge, and if you know differently, then please correct me, but to this point, the NCAA has not accepted LSU's self-imposed penalties as the penalties. LSU self-imposed a bowl ban last year, and to my knowledge, the NCAA has not commented on that one way or the other. So that is not the NCAA saying, okay, yeah, that's your penalty, we'll move forward. I don't think it's going to be that cut and dried.
The NCAA has not responded to that. The NCAA hasn't ruled on Will Wade. Update me on that. Is that like 2 years now? More than 2 years?
It's
2 years.
It's more
2
than
years March. 2 years March
Mhm.
that he was suspended and didn't, and so that has not been, oh boy, and they found nothing and it's over. I mean, I don't know what the NCAA is waiting on that. I mean, I would want to hear more on that first, because that's been 2 years in the making. This is kind of new. So, I mean, I'm getting to the point now. I don't know if I'll be around before they rule out any of this stuff, or anybody will be around. I mean, at the university, look, I don't know. I mean, to your point, I don't know. I mean, some of the national media has talked a bunch about it, maybe not enough to your like. I get asked that a bunch. You mentioned F. King Alexander at Oregon State. That would make 3, because Jeff Long and Les Miles have been fired from Kansas. And yet at LSU, they have suspended 2 people, and they've said they're not taking any further action on the 2 administrators. I guess a lot of the people that are involved, those 2 notwithstanding, are not there. So I'm guessing they're hiding behind that. I mean, well, I'm not guessing. I know they're hiding behind that. They're saying, look, man, this is awful. This is embarrassing. Oh, this is just, I mean, I'm not trying to be cynical, but they asked Ed Orgeron about that because it's spring practice. Shameful. It's embarrassing. Well, yeah, it is. And I don't know that he was involved in any of that, but I do know this, that Derek Geis slept at his house. He was a Darius Geis who's, aside from the Les Miles situation and everything else, Darius Geis was involved in some seedy sexual assault stuff. And Ed Orgeron was an assistant at the time. And I'll just say this, Ed knew certain things, because the reason is when Darius came out for the draft that year, in the NFL, we have access to FBI information. So we addressed it with Ed and with Les at the time. So if for some reason they were in the dark and knew nothing about what was going on with Darius, when I said, Neil, here's what, Neil, Ed, Les, this is what our FBI information has uncovered on Darius. Can you share? Well, I'm not going to share that, but there wasn't a whole lot offered. So the point is if they were in the dark prior to, they at least knew, because I was part of a group in the NFL that, hey, look, this is going on. That's why he dropped. And there were some, I know that I think it was Glenn Guilbeau or some of them was very, very aggressive. A lot of the media there about Darius Geis, great kid. He dropped in the draft, bad rumors and all that. Guys, I mean, you can write whatever you want, but if a guy drops, there are rumors that affect it. There are ways with former FBI folks that on the staff. We know everything that goes on. I addressed this the other day in the podcast. That's the first thing and the last thing we do prior to the draft. So when a guy drops, now La'el Collins, tragic that a former girlfriend died right before the draft, and he had nothing to do with it. But because he was a former boyfriend and he wasn't a person of it, he dropped like a balloon. Those things do happen, but there's a reason why Darius dropped, and the reason why Darius can't even find work now, but that gets lost. So my point is Ed knew about some of that stuff, and he didn't do much. I think it's an embarrassing look because the athletic administration, the university Greek system, the basketball program, I mean, LSU's about as bad looking as anybody, and I think a number of people bring it up. I get this sometimes. Somebody brought it up the other day. Well, wait a minute. What did Will Wade do? What did he say? What is a he said it's a damn strong offer. That he didn't say anything about money, and I'm like, okay, all right, fine. What do you think a damn strong offer means? Like, is am I missing something? Like, is the scholarship?
It's shots per game. It's shots per game, Chris.
It's so the scholarship at LSU is not, because maybe my degree there is worth more than I thought. Is the degree there? I mean, is the scholarship there more? I mean, what do you think it means? Yet I don't know. Is the NCAA having a hard time proving it? Are they digging up a lot of other stuff to go along with it? I can't answer that, and I'm like anybody else. I'm waiting for the NCAA to do it. But I will say this. Bill Self is still coaching at Kansas. Sean Miller is still coaching at Arizona. I'm guessing because at least two of those guys have been real successful, particularly Bill Self. I'm guessing that's why he's still at Kansas, and Jeff Long is gone. I think that has a lot to do with it. And, I'll say this. If Will Wade why would Will Wade agree to a contract restructuring with Scott Woodard? Because basically they tore that up and said, if there's anything that comes up in the NCAA, you're gone and you're fired with cause. He agreed to that. It seems like LSU is a little bit worried about lawsuits. I will say this. The lawyer, I found this out recently because I did ask about this. Why is LSU? I asked LSU, why do you think they're so scared? The lawyer that represents Bill Self and Sean Miller and represents Will Wade, and they're really specialized in hammering the NCAA, and the NCAA is incompetent with a lot of these investigations. So I'm guessing there's a fear of a lawsuit, probably like there was a fear of a lawsuit and going after Les Miles. It's the best I can give you. I don't have the answer. It's embarrassing as an LSU alum. I have a hard time pulling for LSU even in the tournament. I'm sitting there watching them against Alabama, and I want those kids to win, and yet I'm kind of embarrassed, and I'm kind of like, I really am. I'm really, because like the more successful they are, the more people say, wow, that Will Wade's still coaching there. I'm embarrassed.
Charles, I'm going to get back to your question. Jeffrey has a comment here. Says the NCAA tournament starts today. It started yesterday actually, but yeah, I'm hoping we get a Will Wade versus Nate Oates rematch. Who do you either of you think will win it all this year? I am absolutely cheering for an Elite Eight game between Alabama and LSU. I want to see that game again. You and I have not talked since that championship game, Chris. I had a long run on Sunday, and so I did it on the treadmill, and I intentionally waited until that game tipped to do it because I needed something to distract me from running. I'll run. I set my pace, and I'll run. I don't want to sit and watch the clock because if you sit and watch the clock, you feel like you're running 5,000 miles. That game did it for me. That game was intense, man. That game had everything you could want, and the officials did a great job on it. And I'm now hoping to see it again because I don't think the officials can do that good of a job a second time. And I want to see LSU Alabama play with a trip to the Final Four on the line. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Let's go there real quickly, though.
Okay. And by the way, I have Gonzaga winning. I think they're.
I'm gonna give you because you think about it. I mean, I'm sure you got your Final Four. I'm more interested in yours. People have asked. Listen, I haven't watched enough college basketball to know. So I'm curious, and I want feedback from our listeners and certainly from you, Neil. Gonzaga, from what I understand, and certainly from what I've seen, I don't know that anybody can beat them. I'm looking at the region. I don't know that anybody will beat them. I mean, I guess the only thing with Gonzaga,
there's no team, Chris, that can beat Gonzaga in a 7-game series.
No, and yet, and the one thing though, to that point, they don't play many close games. Although I watched the majority of the conference championship game against BYU, in which I think it really helps them. I don't think they play enough close games, so they're going to have to play at least one, if not two, close games. So making free throws, who to foul at the right, things that they don't really do in the regular season. Sometimes, how do they deal with the pressure of the moment? They look really good. In the East, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Michigan's banged up. I don't. I see some love for Texas, but I think Alabama's got a good shot.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Florida State and good team. I don't know. Okay, so in the Midwest, I really like that Illinois team. And again, haven't watched a ton, but I've seen a little bit of Houston. I don't think West Virginia's got on. I just think there's a gap there. I mean, I think Illinois, to me, very, very uneducated view of watching limited. They look like, to me, is almost as much of a lock in that region as Gonzaga. I may be completely wrong. The South, interesting as well. This Baylor team looks really good. I don't know who can. I mean, Ohio State, I know, is playing better. Maybe there. So I don't know. I guess I would have to go with Gonzaga, Illinois. Gonzaga, and maybe go with Bama, but I mean, and then Baylor, Illinois. That's really chalky. That's 3-1 seeds, and that ain't happening. but go ahead. What do you think?
I got Gonzaga, and they're just the best team. They've got 2 lottery picks, including one really high lottery pick. I've got Gonzaga, I've got Alabama, and then I don't go chalk the rest of the way. I've got Ohio State, and I've got Oklahoma State.
Oh, obviously riding on the great player that can carry him, huh? That's a good pick.
Yeah, I love Cade Cunningham, and he's, as he gets more and more comfortable, they get dangerous. They just won the Big 12 tournament, and Cunningham is special. He's one of those guys that can carry a team through a tournament. I'll give you an example. Remember when Danny Manning took Kansas?
Yep, and it did. Yes, it did. 88. Yep.
Yeah, 88. There's a little bit of that kind of a feel to it. We'll see.
Now, wait a minute. Now you said that you meant that Texas beat them, but in the conference championship.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. But he is, what a big time talent he is. So kind of carries the team, makes the big difference. Makes sense. Sense.
But you're right about Illinois. They're great. I just, for whatever reason, just didn't go chalk there.
So okay, yeah. So 4 seed. That's good there. Okay, it's interesting. Anybody that you or our listeners out there that's really like, okay, not a top 4 seed, gonna come out of nowhere. Who do you think that would be most likely to happen? To come out of nowhere and end up in the Final Four.
San Diego State's a really good 6. As crazy as it sounds, I don't hate LSU's bracket if they can get past Michigan in the second round. They got a big test in round 1. St. Bonaventure is going to be a problem.
Pretty good team, yeah,
for LSU. But if they can get out of that first weekend, then that's a huge if. If they do, the way they're playing with momentum, they were really good in Columbia, Missouri at the end. They were very, very good in Nashville. Had the ball literally on the rim to beat Alabama. I thought they took Ole Miss's best shot and won. I thought they really pounded a very good Arkansas team. There's LSU.
And you're right. You're right. They could beat Florida State,
sure,
Georgetown.
Sure. Oh, sure.
You're right. LSU, Alabama.
Oh,
in the Elite 8 would be sweet.
Yeah,
that would be a lot of sweet talk, and that'd just be fun from a football guy standpoint to talk that. That would be kind of really neat. No, that's
because I don't.
Who knows?
I don't think people give the officiating crew in Nashville enough credit. That thing spilled over before the game.
What do we ever know? I mean, there are theories. We're not going to know what. So what do we think happened there? Because I saw that, but you don't know it. I mean, obviously you're talking trash, but you never know who starts it.
It was about recruiting because it was Bill Armstrong off the LSU staff, and it was
oh, cool. This is juicy. I didn't know about this.
It was the former guard at Alabama.
Oh, the guard. Yes. Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yes.
He's now on Nate Oates' staff at Alabama. There's those two staffs have had issues with one another on the recruiting trail on players. Obviously, Trendon Watford, who's at LSU now, was a huge Alabama target. And then obviously they're going head to head on a bunch of kids now, and you know the whole, as you just referenced, the strong ass offer, and then Alabama's I mean, listen, Alabama is not lily white in terms of their recruiting efforts in basketball either. So you've got it got personal, it got nasty. The commissioner was on the floor pregame.
I saw that. I said Sankey's in the middle of this.
Well,
I said Sankey's out there, but I'm like, this is some good stuff.
They had a really strong crew on that game
strong ass crew.
A strong ass crew. They had a really good crew that knew exactly what was going on and managed that game remarkably well. It was a little frustrating. They managed it as well as they did because they kept everybody cool. And I do think there were people on, I don't think this, I know it because I've talked to people who heard conversations. There were people on both benches that were reminding the coaching staffs, reminding the players, hey, I know this feels like a huge game, and it is, but we've got a tournament to play. Don't do something that gets you suspended.
Oh, yeah. No,
don't get suspended. Well, if these two teams meet in the Elite Eight, somebody's season's coming to an end. If these two teams meet in the Elite Eight, somebody's going to the Final Four and somebody's not. And if these two teams meet in the Elite Eight, I don't know that you can get that good of an officiating crew again. And the SEC won't be in control the way that they were in Nashville. And, man, this thing could turn into WWE, WWF, whatever the WW is these days. It could turn into that fast.
So I know we got some. I'm gonna get to your NFL question. We're gonna get back to in a second, but this is juicy. I want to get into it. So, a couple of things I want to ask you. One, real quick. So, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you heard about it or read about it. So, Will Wade, in the production meeting with Dick Vitale, I guess Dick did the game, and so Dick Dick Vitale told him that he wasn't going to talk about this stuff. Dick Vitale's been critical. I think the quote was a while back that Will Wade should not be in coaching. And that's been, oh boy, in Baton Rouge, my God, they have just been apoplectic. Oh, Dick Vitale, what your thoughts on this? To the folks that say everybody does it. You don't think that John Calipari's doing it? Your thoughts, because I mean, I have my thoughts. Your thoughts on the people that say, quit being holier than thou, and Will Wade is a strong damn offer. You really think nobody else is? Your response to the people that take that tone?
He's caught on a federal wiretap.
It's a little different, isn't it?
My thoughts are this. My thoughts are very simple. I cover a program that I think finds LSU very frustrating. They don't talk about it publicly. They don't talk about it privately, but you can feel the frustration when you get around the conversations, which is you got to compete against them. They've got 4 players on their roster who would be the best player on this roster at Ole Miss, for example.
Right.
You're on a federal wiretap. And I think the question that some coaches have, quite frankly, is if nothing's going to happen to Will Wade, then quite frankly, it goes from we should cheat to we're stupid not to cheat.
Right.
And so, yeah, when people go, does everybody cheat? Look, Chris, yeah. I mean, kids get taken care of on campuses. Always have, always will. But there is a difference between, hey, Joe, come to Milwaukee Tech and we'll take care of you. We'll make sure that you got some spending money. We'll make sure that you can get home. We'll make sure that your mom can get to the game sometimes. We'll take care of you. There's a difference between that, I think, in the minds of most people, and here's this massive cash offer up front to get you to come to Milwaukee Tech. Obviously, I'm making up a school here. There's a big difference. Will Wade is caught on a federal wiretap saying, I'm going to make I made a strong ass offer to Javonte Smart.
And I think he said something along the lines too. I'm going to paraphrase here.
Yeah.
About referring to the D League or the G League or whatever, like meaning, and again, this is like, what do you think he was talking about? Basically, in essence, hey, comparable to that. What do you think that is? I mean, you got to be kind of naive
Yeah, the people that defend Wade are homers. The people that defend Wade are people who are in the media, and some of these people are my friends, and I like them personally. Just because I disagree with you and I might disagree about something, it doesn't mean we're going to claw each other's eyes out. It just means we disagree. There are people in the media down there that defend him because he comes on their shows and he provides access and he does those things. And if they don't do that, they don't get the access. It's quid pro quo.
Yeah,
and so they defend him, and they end up kind of making not fools of themselves, but fools of themselves in this particular lane, this particular venue. To even remotely attempt to justify what Will Wade is caught saying on a federal wiretap as being anything other than pay for play for Javonte Smart, who is on his roster, is ludicrous. It's indefensible. You can't do it. And so if you're going to say that, then you have to be willing to say out loud as a media member, okay, cool. It doesn't matter. It's the wild, wild west. It's a free for all, and I'm good with that. And now if you say that consistently, fine. But you can't then turn around if you're covering LSU and bitch about Nick Saban allegedly buying players. You're cool with it with Will Wade, but you're not cool with it when you lose one that way. No, it doesn't work like that. That's my thing. And then I deal with a lot of Ole Miss fans, obviously, because that's my subscriber base. That's who I cover. And they say, and they have a point, Chris. They do. They have a point to be this frustrated. They say, we got absolutely raked over the coals by the NCAA for a list of charges that, when you boil them down, is $700 to Laramie Tunsil's stepfather after he'd already been on campus. Laramie Tunsil got to sleep at Chris Kiffin's house for a couple of nights on the couch, and they fed him. Laramie Tunsil and another couple of players kept loaner cars from a dealership too long. And Leo Lewis got recruiting incentives during his recruitment. Leo Lewis played at Mississippi State, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially the extent of the charges against Ole Miss, and the program got shut down. Basically, I mean, they got hammered, as you well know. And I think people look at this and they look at the NCAA and they look at Will Wade and they look at the program that he has and the talented roster that he has, because the truth is, Chris, they're talented enough to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, and I think it's the inconsistency with the NCAA that's frustrating, and it's kind of difficult. Now, we'll say this. This is not done. They haven't ruled on, and I know, so people are saying, I think the frustration over time is a legitimate one. NCAA needs to figure out how to get this done, because Will Wade may – before you know it, he may leave for another job on his own before he ever gets caught. They've got to do a better job from a timely standpoint to figure this out. But if the NCAA comes out and finds nothing, then I think that the frustration is legitimate. I mean, it's legitimate now, but we don't know what's going to happen. I think that's interesting. Maybe there's something to it. Look, I'm not wishing for bad things. I don't know. It's me. It's a gut feeling. I know there was a whole lot of things that went on at Virginia Commonwealth when he was there. He comes with a lot of baggage, and I just, but I do think there's a difference when you're caught saying something as opposed to, well, they always buy players at Kentucky. They always in football buy players at Alabama. They always, okay, can you prove it? Okay, it's fine to know that, think that, believe it. It doesn't matter if you can't prove it. You got to prove it. And I think with this, there seems to be a certain level of proof here that it just gets done. I want to ask you about the Indiana job. Your thoughts on it. The program looks, I know they de-emphasized monetarily basketball years ago. It's a great tradition job.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be great if Brad Stevens wants to come home. I don't see that happening. You think a Tony Bennett would leave Virginia, or you think it's more? I mean, I mentioned on Tuesday, what about John Beilein? I know they'll talk about he's 68. Guy's done a phenomenal job. I think he'd be a great builder at West Virginia and Michigan. Or is it maybe a Chris Beard or maybe a Scott Drew? Your thoughts on that? That job is one of the historically good ones that go back to Branch McCracken before Bobby Knight and Hoosier, that kind of stuff. It is just been a mess.
It's a storied job. It's when you talk about traditional jobs, it's at the very top of the list in college basketball with Duke and North Carolina and UCLA and Indiana and Kansas, but they haven't won
in a
long time. And so there's
a lot of guys, a lot of pedigree.
Yeah.
I mean, did you think Archie Miller, who Midwest guy, a lot of success at Dayton? I mean, what's the reason that's not a great hire and great success?
Well, and that's my point a little bit, is that Archie Miller, who's a hell of a coach, did a great job at Dayton. He leaves Dayton. Anthony Grant replaces him at Dayton. Falls off a little, but not a lot. They've done a really good job. And now he goes to Indiana and he can't get it done. The Big Ten's loaded. A lot of good basketball programs in the Big Ten. I mean,
Underwood's done a good job at Illinois to go along with the Michigan and Ohio States. Michigan State's down by their standards, but we know how great they are.
Well,
on and on.
Yeah, Michigan State has Amani Bates coming in next year. They're going to be a preseason top 5 team. Iowa's a 2 seed in the tournament.
That guy's done a good job. Yeah,
the guy at Rutgers has done a really good job. It's a really difficult league, and everyone's pretty committed to it. And so the question is, in today's modern basketball, with all the games on TV and all the stuff that's out there, is Indiana still a great job, or is Indiana the Nebraska of college basketball? Is it the Tennessee of college basketball, where it can be a good job, but just because it was a good job or a great job 20 years ago? Isaiah Thomas has been gone. I mean, he played his championship game when I was in the 5th grade, Chris. He played his championship game the day that Ronald Reagan was shot. Ronald Reagan was shot in the first year of his 8-year presidency, and Ronald Reagan's been gone for a while. We've moved through some presidents since then. Yeah. It's just because you once won doesn't mean you always win.
Yeah, 87, Keith Smart. I saw Keith Smart beat Syracuse in the Dome.
Yeah,
and that doesn't seem that long for me. It's a long time though. It's a long time. Still though.
You're asking.
I believe that is the right guy.
Okay, so here's the question. You're Nate Oates at Alabama today. Okay, you're Eric Musselman at Arkansas today. You're Chris Beard at Texas Tech today. Programs that are committed to you, that are spending the money, that are doing the things that are necessary to win. Do you leave one of those 3 places to go to Indiana based on tradition and history and all of that? Or do you look around and go, man, I don't know. Just because that was a better job 20 years ago doesn't mean it's a better job today.
I think if I'm Chris Beard, I got to take that. Now, Scott Drew, Baylor, I would as well, but particularly with, Dad and the Valparaiso background, I would too, but they got tons of money at Baylor where they can they pay Kim Mulkey like ridiculous money. They can print money in Waco.
Yeah.
So that maybe there I would say, you know what, I'm just going to stay here.
Nate Oates?
If I'm the Chris Beard, I'm doing Nate Oates. No, I think he wants to build something and he can do something. I think Musselman, same thing. I think Arkansas is a really good basketball job. Alabama could be one of those to where he can build his own and have some security. You got security at Texas Tech, but I think that
the question with Beard, Chris, is not do you stay at Texas Tech? The question with Beard is
wait for another one.
Exactly. You're Chris Beard. You've Calipari's not going to stay at Kentucky forever. Mike Krzyzewski's not going to stay at Duke forever.
But Duke's going to a Duke guy.
Okay, but Kansas might not go to a Kansas guy.
Yeah.
If you're Chris Beard, as long as you don't do something stupid in your personal life, you're going to be in the mix for these big-time jobs.
Yeah. Well, I think the answer is, now Dan Dockich has come out, and I know he's very controversial. He said that the problem has been their de-emphasis on basketball, and he was somewhat vague on that, meaning they spent a ton of money when Bobby Knight was there, and they're not spending as much on that. They basically after Bobby Knight, I think the feeling was he had too much control, which probably did. I mean, he controlled a lot of things in that state, and they kind of de-emphasized the power structure of that position, and that maybe led to Kelvin Sampson's won everywhere he's been. He didn't have a whole lot of success there. No one's really done it. I think there's a problem.
The other thing that's happened in Indiana is they've put a lot of emphasis on football.
And that's the thing, too. They got to look on campus and say, our best coach is the football coach, Tom Allen. Major sports, I'm sure. I don't know what the other sports are. Tom Allen's what an unbelievable job. And I just think that.
Where's the money? The money's in football.
Yeah, well, no, it is. I just keep thinking that, man, though, that they would. I don't know. I tell you what, the whole John Beeline's too old stuff. That just, I don't know what John wants to do, and I don't know how much money he's still making from the Cavs situation. But I just that would be somebody. But I think that really depends upon if they have de-emphasized it. What the hell are you doing? Fix that. Come on, Indiana, get it done.
All right, rapid fire here. We're going to.
Yes.
This is going to be a challenge for you, Chris.
Yes, I will. I promise. I'll be quick. I'll do it. I'll do a good job.
Cowboys, they get Dak on a multi-year deal. What's Jerry Jones' plan to fill the holes on defense?
The draft. They don't have cap room to do it in free agency unless it's bargained. They're not going to be players in free agency.
Your opinion on Baker Mayfield since entering the league?
He's gotten better, particularly with Stefanski. Better decision-making. Still needs to improve in that area to take his game to the next level.
How would you rate Ole Miss wide receiver Elijah Moore as an NFL receiver?
I like him. In fact, I'll put something in my notebook on LandryFootball.com. I think Terrence Marshall. We talk about the elite guys, as we should, coming out of the SEC in the draft at the receiver position. But I think Elijah's really good. The only thing, a little height deficient, but I think can be great in the slot, and I think he can play on the outside. Not going to be a fit for everybody due to his height. He's not going to be a guy he can play a little bit taller than his size, but it's still an issue. Next level.
How legit are the rumors that Andrew Luck might come back?
I don't know that there's anything to that. I mean, I just think people are throwing that out. I haven't heard anything substantive.
I want to remind people we're brought to you by Blue Sky. Please check out one of Blue Sky's 48 store locations across the Southeast today. We're also brought to you by Alpha Specialties, 1670 Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi. It's your trailer-specific professional. I'll tell you a lot more about them next week. We'll make sure we kind of dive into all the things that they offer for you at Alpha. But give them a call at 601-932-9798 or alphaofms.com if you need a premium trailer, if you need a cargo trailer, if you need spare tires, wheels for your trailer, you need a trailer that's specifically built for you, for your maybe game day concessions or whatnot. Get in touch with the people at Alpha. It's again alphaofms.com. Thanks to everybody in the thread today. A lot of questions, a lot of good questions. We got to most of them, and I didn't think Chris could pull off rapid fire like he did. But he did it. I thought Chris was. I thought I'd found his weakness was an inability to go brief, but he pulled it off in rapid fire. It was very impressive.
Right.
He's the one.
It was a good workout. I'm moving up the draft board due to the good workout.
You did. You just moved up the board with your ability to.
Oh goodness!
So that does it for today. Hope everybody has a great weekend out there. Looks like it's going to be pretty nice weather in the Southeast after a little bit of a threatening weather week. So everybody get out and enjoy it, and we look forward to visiting with you again on Tuesday when we reconvene for SEC football and beyond. Good luck to your brackets, and we will talk to you soon.